Hi there, my name is Grace. My sister Madeline and I are on a mission to reread our favorite YA fantasy classics and discuss why they're maybe even better for adults. Do you look expectantly at your cat every morning, waiting for it to finally give you your hero's quest? Long for a dragon to battle or raise or keep house and cook for? Realize that a majority of your formative memories revolve around reading. If any of this resonates, you'll probably enjoy our podcast, Dragon Babies. We're obsessed with pretend food, fully realized animal characters, and wise dragons having sarcastic conversations with female protagonists. Authors we've covered include Ursula K. Le Guin, Tamara Pierce, Terry Pratchett, Diana Wynne Jones, Garth Nix, Robin McKinley, and many more. You can find Dragon Babies on your favorite podcast app or at dragonbabiespodcast.com.
Hi, welcome to Turd-Based Besties, a podcast where two grown adults with no free time talk about their favorite RPGs. I'm DJ.
And I'm Sam, and we're besties that love to game.
Yeah, I got so excited saying that. We just had like a 10-minute conversation before we started recording, which I don't know, maybe some of that will go on not our TikTok, our Instagram reels, because we're almost 40. That's what we use.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, it will.
However, I did get TikTok, the TikToks.
Oh, you did get
So
the tiki-taki.
I'm on it. I'm on it now. I'm young.
You're so
that
hip.
Makes me so young.
I've had a TikTok. I mean, I don't post on a TikTok, but I've had one for like, I guess since 2020, since the pandemic started.
You're so hip. You're so cool.
I
But I wanted to be as cool as you, and now I am. But as we said, it was 90% me getting it so that I could watch the TikToks that you send me. So now I can be your friend.
I think so. Well, you should follow me on TikTok so you can. I don't know. I mean, I don't post, so you can follow me. So we can be friends.
just so I can say that we're true TikTok friends.
Should we have a TikTok for our podcast?
It maybe.
Let us know, audience, if you'd like for Turn-Based Besties to have a TikTok. That was my audience voice.
Maybe people want to see that. So we would then have to start recording ourselves video, right?
Oh yeah, I guess so.
It's not a problem. We can do it.
Let us know, audience, if you'd like to see us on a video.
Oh man, well, like I was saying also before we started, I went back to work after paternity leave ended just 2 days ago. So now I'm a little bit more tired than I had been. So, getting not a whole lot of sleep because of a 7-week-old, but now also back at work. So if I am fading off, it's because of that. But little baby Kay, the 7-week-old, she does sleep pretty darn well overall. I'm gonna give her credit.
That's
However,
good.
In the 5-year-old, her big sister does try to help her out and put her to sleep. And one time she was singing her a little song and it cracked me up. I think we were driving and In was trying to put Kay to sleep and Kay was crying in her car seat. And In started singing like, like go to sleep. And then at one point she goes, go to sleep, don't make sound, go to sleep. Her lyric was don't make sound. And I just burst out laughing. It was too funny.
That's really cute. I mean, that's what you want them to do when they sleep is not make sound, though. Like,
don't make sound.
Don't make
so now, kind of when she's screaming and crying, I sing that in my head and maybe sometimes also out loud. But that is In and K. And then to round things out and make sure I talk about Jay, the 2.5, soon to be 3-year-old. Jay is just a wrecking ball. Jay is just a tsunami wrapped in a hurricane, wrapped in a hailstorm. Just chaos. and I was at my folks' house down in Springfield, Missouri, and he runs away from me from the backyard into their front yard, and I don't know if he's going to go out into the street or what he's going to do, so I'm running after him. He gets to the edge of their front porch, and one side of it has a pretty steep hill, and he just yeets himself off the side and then starts rolling down the hill. He was fine, but just reckless abandon down the hill. It was nuts. And then the other time he was running like crazy is they wanted to take some stickers upstairs because I had this little sheet that if they did a good thing, they got to put stickers on it. They needed more stickers. Fine. So I said, yeah, Jay, you can get some more stickers too. And Ian had already gotten some stickers. And anyway, Jay uh, takes a roll of stickers and then gets this little smirk across his face and then takes off. And they start unfurling, unraveling. And Jay goes around the entire first floor and they are just everywhere. And then somehow the stickers made it so that a corner of a counter of one of our counters, like in the kitchen, started knocking them off one by one. So about 30 stickers end up on the ground and stuck to the wall and everything like that, in addition to a strip of sticker paper all across the first floor.
Why?
So,
Why did you get him stickers?
oh, they love stickers. Stickers is generally a good investment. It gives you at least 15 minutes of free
Good.
time while they mess with them.
Oh my God. Well, that sounds stressful. Also, you're using incredibly podcast kind language when you're like, he is a tsunami wrapped in a hurricane. Because I'm like, I know how you feel.
Some people would use different language, and maybe at times I've used different language, but right now, but no, it's true. That is a colorful but accurate way to describe him.
Yep.
So
Lovely
how is
hurricane.
how is life without that wrecking ball in it?
Oh, I mean, I've got plenty of wrecking balls in my life, but none that
Okay, Miley, let us know.
I know. Well, it just came in like one, and here I'm licking a sledgehammer now. Uh, life's pretty good, man. You and I just saw each other in person, which was
No.
pretty nice. Yeah, I was back in Columbia, Missouri, singing with Vox Nova. And in fact,
Woo.
some even cooler news about Vox Nova today. We were just selected as national finalists for the Ernst Bacon. Ernst Bacon was an American composer. Ernst Bacon American Music Performance category. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, which
That's fantastic.
I'm pretty excited. We 7 years ago we won we won this prize. We got first place in it. So hoping that we can, you know, 7 years later enter again and maybe win again would be pretty cool.
That's fantastic. So, okay, dumb question.
Yeah.
I saw live concerts that were also recorded, but like on Facebook. But you guys did a professional recording of tracks to submit for this. Is that correct?
Yes and no. So we submitted a combination, and that's the thing for this particular competition is you do not have to submit professionally recorded audio or
Oh, okay.
video. You could any concert that has decent audio and or decent video you can submit. So it was a hodgepodge that we sent in from last year's. Like we this is all
Oh, okay.
2020 all 2023's concert stuff, not 2024. So yeah,
Yeah.
man, it was
Well,
pretty
cool.
fun.
That's exciting. That's awesome. It was amazing. I got to see some of the performances, not all of them, but I was ecstatic that we could come see any of them, and
Yeah.
they were great. Is all I'm
Oh,
gonna say.
thanks, man. It's good to have a super fan in the Jerseys.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
the only
yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Nobody else.
definitely not your
Actually,
wife, but
baby K and my wife
I
also got to come in
know.
and see.
So
It was great.
it was a good weekend for sure. It's nice to reunite with those folks once a year, you know. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure
pretty
it's a
cool.
lot for you, but very rewarding at the same time.
It's not that much, you know. It's okay. I get to sing with my husband once a year. It's pretty nice too. For those who don't know, yes, husband, just like Sam and his wife Taylor, is physician, is medicine, but My husband also has a music degree and sometimes still uses it. So and we get to sing together once a year. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, okay. Except also you sing to your cats like every night, I'm sure.
Yeah, we do. I guess that's true. And to our dog. So we have an album of just the songs that we sing to our pets.
And that will you be releasing that on the Turn-Based Besties SoundCloud?
I actually will release it on the Turn Based Besties Patreon, where it's just special stuff.
Oh, special.
Special, it's just special stuff.
I
That's
love
all
it.
it is.
Okay, good, good, very good. Well, wonderful. So, jumping into what we're talking about today, that's not just banter for banter's sake, which is great, but
Yeah.
let's get down to business about
Yeah.
what we're chatting about today. So,
Defeat that
today,
Hun.
there you go. I did see, in honor of Pride Month, did you see that meme where somebody's like, um, the LGTB is let's get down to business. And they're like, I'm never going to be able to see it a different way now. And I'm like, oh no, oh no.
Oh no, that is yeah. I mean, it is. Let's get down to business. Yeah,
Yep, yep.
I was about to say some unsavory language, but this is a family channel, so I won't.
And we love Mulan. Mulan's great.
I
Shout out
know.
to Mulan.
Yeah, thank you,
Um,
Mulan.
anyway, so we are talking though today about our favorite rogues slash thieves in RPGs. So, what exactly is a rogue or a thief type character, and what defines them? So, a lot of times, in games, they just come out and say it. They're like, "I'm a thief.
Yep.
I'm a rogue. That's most commonly how you know." But other things that define them are they're primarily speed and evasion based. They're quick speedsters.
They are quick on their feet. Yeah, stat wise, this could be represented, depending on the game, as a dexterity trait or evasion, speed, agility, depending on the game. I've also noticed that a lot of thieves, or the broad thief character, oftentimes will have a high charisma stat as well, as they're likely one of the faces of the party. So they'll be the person who might do a lot of the talking. Something I've noticed
Sure.
at least.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And when you talk about like what weapons they use, they tend to carry this similar type of weapons: daggers, short swords, spears, commonly dual wielding things. And then on top of that, they have a predilection towards poison based attacks and critical hits, oftentimes, too.
Yeah, a lot of poison. I That's when we were kind of doing our meeting about this episode. I realized that a lot of the rogues use poison or
Mm-hmm.
make traps, or in some games they can disarm or disable traps. I've noticed a number of rogues can also have status based attacks where they're not actually taking off damage, but they could confuse someone or make them fall asleep in addition to poisoning them.
Sure, sure.
So
Or
so
blinding, maybe.
yeah, blinding as well. Yeah. So like depending on the game, blind, sleep, confuse, poison, just a lot of status effects where it won't necessarily deplete the health unless it's poison, but it can set up for a really high critical attack on the next round.
Yep, yep. So similar to what we mentioned before, with that speed is kind of the evasion aspect of them, and oftentimes they can almost be a defense class in a way as an evasion tank. So
Hmm.
that might overlap with a lot of the defender classes because what's better than having a lot of armor and taking a hit? Well, just don't even take the hit,
Yep.
just dodge it completely. So that's what a lot of these classes will do. And there's additional abilities that come along with them outside of battle too. Is they'll commonly be able to steal items, steal money, maybe even take away certain abilities from enemies.
Yeah, very blue magey in a way. Some of them
Sure.
could be. Yeah. Some offshoots of the class could be, and this could just be our opinion on what some of the offshoots of the thief rogue class could be. Obviously, there could be more that we're leaving out. Some people could disagree with these. Drag us in the comments, of course. There could be an archer, a ranger, a ninja, assassin, a duelist, so someone who exclusively just dual wields. I would argue maybe even a monk and I'd say even the dancer class, depending on the game. And I'm only really thinking of 3 games when it comes to the dancer class, but their stats alone are identical usually to what a rogue is. So I
Yeah.
think they fit into the rogue class.
Yeah. People could nitpick and say that each of those is a little different in one way or another,
Yeah,
but there's
sure,
so much overlap that I think they largely fall into what we're talking about here.
I think so too.
So we're each going to give our top five, kind of going back and forth, mentioning them one by one. And, mine will loosely be in a top five with five being, number five and one being my favorite, loosely, but it's a
Yeah,
little free form here. So I'll start things off, though, with my number five.
number 5.
So for a game that I'm playing right now,
Ooh,
Travis from Unicorn Overlord.
okay.
So Travis, he's literally a thief. He has the thief class to start with, and he joins Elaine's the main protagonist's liberation army. He's also a founding member of these Tricorn mercenaries, which I believe he started with other members of his family, or at least his sister there too. I haven't gotten too far into the story yet. Still playing that. The review for that to come soon, next
Mm-hmm.
month, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll hear more about it. But so far, I'm digging the story. It's mostly gameplay based, but it is a vanillaware game. There is some good story. There's just a lot of characters, so making each character have kind of their own story is difficult, and they're maybe a little bit more limited for each character because there's dozens of characters.
Mm.
Visuals for Travis. What does he look like? He's kind of short stature, dark purple grayish cloak, and then he's young, but he has this nice silver hair. He's a silver fox.
Hot.
Then weapons. He generally wields dual daggers, twin daggers, but also sometimes short swords. And then other abilities that specific to Unicorn Overlord, there is a leader effect, I believe is what they call it. So when you have a unit which has several different characters in that unit, you can say that one of them is the leader. And like if it's a flying character on a griffin or something like that, then that group flies and will go over terrain and those kind of things. When he's the leader, it seems like he has a little bit faster movement speed, but then also it'll reduce your rest time. So you have to rest to regain stamina to keep battling different things like that. So that's kind of how he buffs you. Now let's talk about other abilities which are a little bit more specific to the thievery. He's very good at evading, so can be your evasion tank. He has high baseline evasion, but then he also has an ability called evade, which will use one of his kind of mana points almost that they have, which is nice. So if he doesn't evade the attack, he can use an ability to also evade the attack. So he's very difficult to hit. He has both passive steal and active steal. So those mana points that I mentioned, there are passive ones, which tend to be using one of those points is an evade or a heal or a buff slash debuff rather than an active point, which is a slash or an attack or something like that. But he has an attack or an ability that's passive steal, and you'll take away all the passive points for the enemy that you hit. So you really handicap them if they can't heal and they can't debuff and they can't do those things. Active steal is the same way. If you hit them and you remove all their active points, then that character on the other squad is not going to be able to attack you, and that's hugely successful. Toxic Throw is a ranged poison inflicting attack. He has Plunder, which allows you to steal, kind of actually outside of battle on the overworld map almost, but still during battles, but not when you're actually engaged in a fight. You can plunder and steal their resources, their gold. Shadow Bite inflicts blindness, as we mentioned. So that's a debuff that we talked about, and then also decreases the enemy's evasion and initiative, so how quickly they would act in the
Mm.
turn order. And then the last one that he has is Sneaking Edge. So this one's kind of cool. So this one supersedes initiative. It'll act first. And then he can inflict different effects, status effects called passive seal and guard seal. So just he can act immediately and he can just seal off a character so they can't use a lot of their abilities. So hugely for me, I've had a blast using Travis so far as that evasion tank. Just nobody can hit that party if he's in front. His evasion, I've equipped him with the right stat boosting items, and he is so difficult to hit. And then he can also just knock out the strongest members of the other group with that passive and active steal and make them totally handcuffed, so they're not capable of dishing out any damage back. So he's been great, and I'm excited to hear how his story goes.
Cool. I mean, you sold me on Travis for Unicorn Overlord.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
It,
Well
it looks like
then,
a beautiful game. I mean, it really does. I'm excited for our Unicorn Overlord episode for when you try to sell me on the game. That's actually what the episode will be because I have not played it.
in one sense, I think I have an uphill battle because I know a lot about what you like, but in another sense, I'll say I've got, to use another analogy, I've got the wind at my back because it is such a great game. So I think I got a chance. I've got a chance.
I, and I've got some time. I mean, not a lot, but I've got a little bit of time that I could sneak it in if I really want.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty.
Speaking
Well,
of sneaking,
oh,
how organic was that? I loved that.
so
That's really
so
off the
organic.
cuff. Yeah. I'll go to my number five, which is Yuffie from Final Fantasy VII. I'm talking about the original Final Fantasy VII here, not the remake, reimaging. Just so we all know. So overall, what does Miss Yuffie look like? She looks like a thief, and she acts like a thief because she's a thief. But she's also actually, if you'll probably remember, a pretty powerful ninja. And she's also a self-proclaimed materia hunter, or at least that's what I call her, as a materia hunter, which I think is kind of a deep cut jab to Locke from Final Fantasy VI, who is also a
Um,
thief character, but he swears that he's not a thief, he's a treasure hunter.
hmm.
Yeah,
But
and
but
definitely
she
not a thief.
but
But
she's a materia girl and she lives in a materia world.
she does. I wish they could have made that reference. I mean, they would have gotten sued for doing that, but it almost would have been worth it. I was like, where are you going with this? Yuffie's, I think, a little bit annoying in the beginning. She's super sneaky, as she, spoiler alert, kind of turns on your party for a little bit when she steals all of the materia in your party. But she's a good girl. Yuffie is a good girl for sure. She comes around. Visually, I think she looks really cool. She's wearing looks like tennis shoes with long socks. To me, they look like long socks. They might be something else. They look like long socks pulled over shin guards up to her knees. Super short, a green halter top, one cool shoulder pad just for one shoulder, not for both, and a headband that definitely kind of ties in her ninja background. Her weapon of choice is a shuriken, but it's huge. It's a huge star-like weapon that she throws and comes back to her. It comes back to her like a boomerang. Boomerangs, also, by the way, are very roguey. We didn't mention that.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, boomerangs, shurikens. Her abilities, she has great agility and stealth, and it helps her attack both as a melee fighter and a long range fighter. So in Final Fantasy VII, as lots of folks know, you can equip multiple materia, and it lets anybody have certain abilities, though because Yuffie tends to act first, it's best to give her something like steel, the steel materia, or the option to throw, where she could throw she can throw items just from your inventory at some of the enemies. Her limit breaks also do a combo of melee and long range damage. Plus, she can heal the party. It's not a great heal, but if you're in a pinch and your other healers aren't able to heal for some odd reason, she can heal. I've noticed that in a few other games too, that rogues can act as, I wouldn't even say a secondary healer, but maybe a tertiary healer. At least they can heal themselves a lot of the times, if not aid the party a little bit. And I think that's really on point and on brand for their characters to be able to heal themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great
Yeah,
skill.
it's a great skill. So that is my number five with Yuffie. And if we didn't mention her in our top five, there would be pitchforks. So I made sure to include her in my top five so I didn't get attacked online. But also,
You'll always have to save us on the historic ones, probably, because you have most likely played those. And so,
it's true. But I kind of love that you have some newer rogues that other people may not know about from newer games, and I bring up some of the older stuff too. I think it's a nice little combination.
okay. Yeah. Well, speaking of a little bit newer, In this next one that I have, number 4 is Sienna from Chained Echoes. So overall, she's also literally a thief. You meet her kind of, she's on the run due to her thieving ways, and kind of gets mixed up in a lot of different bad situations. She has the highest agility crit in the game, high evasion, dodge that we'll talk about in a little bit. Other parts of her storyline that are important. So, speaking of Pride Month here, she's a queer character. They mentioned this that she has a wife, Eva, who's also part of this. She's a knight of the church that they're a part of, which
Cool.
is very interesting. I'd actually forgotten that about the game, but in researching her, it was very timely for the month, which is
Woo!
fantastic. Um, so let's see here. She's also just super endearing. I liked her in gameplay, but her character itself is endearing. She has all these kind of badass, snarky comments, but then at times you notice that she's maybe a little bit more sensitive or afraid, or has these fears come out. So I like that when you can kind of see behind the veil of certain characters. Visually, she's rather striking too. She has bright red hair, partially covering her face, a long crimson robe that she wears. She wields a katana. Um, let's see, and then abilities. So along the same lines as a lot of our other characters, she has one called Pilfer, which allows her to steal things. She has Nukitsuke, which increases the crit for the whole party. She has Quick Step that increases agility and kind of avoid for everybody. Shadow Step, which gives you the ability to dodge 2 physical attacks. So you kind of get 2 charges to dodge physical attacks. And then Calm Water also increases dodge chance. So a whole bunch of the things we mentioned: crit, evade, dodge, and she can dish out some damage too. But I recall from playing that she would very commonly be that evasion tank. She would survive, and because they just couldn't hit her, which
Mm-hmm.
was always useful to have that person in your party.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also I just really love Chained Echoes, and so when I was thinking about Thieves, I thought straight to Sienna.
It's a good game. I remember it. It's one of those that I don't know why I didn't finish it, and I genuinely some games I don't finish because I just get bored, and
Yeah,
I'm not gonna apologize for that. But I don't know why I didn't finish Chain Echoes. It was around one of the Christmas holidays, so maybe I just got distracted with the actual holiday and didn't come back to it. But it was really
maybe.
fun while I was playing
It's
it.
super fun. I do think it drags on. It's rather long.
Oh,
Um, so maybe just kind of drug on, or you got to a point that wasn't kind of catching your interest and during a lull. But if during all that time that we've been talking about, maybe go back and dip your toe in again.
yeah, I mean, when I have time, I actually maybe might. It was pretty fun. It looks like the kind of games that I like to play
It
for
does.
sure.
It
Yeah.
does.
I am gonna give us number 4, and I'm keeping it in the Square Enix realm or Square Soft even, I think technically back in the day, with Final Fantasy IX's primary character, Zidane. Overall, he is also literally a thief. We're staying safe right now.
We are.
All of our thieves are literally thieves so far. This thief works for a theater group. He is he's kind and super laid back to the point that it's a little bit concerning because like the man has a world to save eventually, and he's a little casual going for the first half of the game. Like I said, he's the main character of Final Fantasy IX, and I think it's pretty cool to see a thief take on the protagonist role, like take on the main hero role. Even though I think Vivi is a better main protagonist in Final Fantasy IX, but Zidane is certainly fine. It's fine. I said that in our Mage episode too. I think Vivi is the more interesting of the two. Visually, Zidane, he is a half monkey man. He's so cute. He's got a long tail. At first glance, he actually looks a little bit androgynous. He got a skinny twink body, long blonde hair, big boots, skinny pants, a vest type top with no sleeves, like he's going off to the club with his svelte arms, gloves with the biggest cuffs you've ever seen. And he's just a cute monkey. That's what he looks like.
I
His
love your
weapons.
visual descriptions here.
Thank you. I mean, do you have you seen a photo of Zidane?
No, now I need to do it.
I think you should Google it right now and let me
I'm
know
still
if I.
embarrassed that I've got Final Fantasy IX downloaded, but I never played it.
Oh man, it's so good. It's just such a good game. Let me know if I did him justice on his description.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's
Yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Thank
I think you
you.
nailed it.
Thank you. Pretty much nailed it. His weapons, his weapons that he uses, very thief-like. He uses daggers or swords. The swords in Final Fantasy IX for him are called thief swords. So, like literally a sword for a thief. His abilities work in an interesting way in Final Fantasy IX, and since this isn't a review of Final Fantasy IX, I won't get into that. But Zidane specific abilities are things called steal and skill. So steal, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's him stealing. If he equips something called Mug, it allows him to steal and do damage as well. There are a few other things that you can equip to enhance the rate of stealing or to enhance the damage of stealing. I like Mug just because I feel like I'm doing two things at once. With skill, it's a hodgepodge of random skills. It's not the most creative name for him, but he has a number of things that come with this ability called skill. One is called "What's that?" and it makes the enemy turn around, resetting their ATB bar, and it sets them up for a back attack, which means you could get a crit on them a little bit easier. Another skill is called Sacrifice, where he sacrifices all his HP and MP down to 0 to heal the entire party. You know, that's very situational when you would use that one.
And so he
Again,
faints or he dies at
he
that point.
does, he faints. You can resurrect him right away. And I think I used it maybe once, and it was like a dire need to help
Sure,
the party,
absolutely.
so it came in handy one time. Let's see. Again, the theme of thieves as a last resort healers. Yeah, with his sacrifice. Another thing is called Soul Blade, where you inflict a random status ailment on the enemy. It's giving Jack of all trades, master of none for Zidane, but that's exactly who he is. Fun protagonist. I super recommend you play it at some point. Samuel.
I that one I feel confident I will. So no worries. I believe I
Yeah.
will. And now I know what he looks like. So for number 3 for me is Aboru Maru from Live Alive. So he was the character from the Twilight of Edo Japan, the stealth infiltration chapter, and so he was a member of the Inma clan, kind of also a ninja of sorts, really more so I would say. Did we decide it was Ode? Ode or Ode Castle?
I
ODE?
think Odie.
Ode?
Oh, I think it.
Ode?
You know, it depends on the scenario. I think also, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So let's
So
say Ode.
so so Ode, so you're infiltrating the Ode castle to rescue a politician during this chapter. You can either choose to do it completely all stealth and have a 0 kill run and basically fight no one, which seemed very very difficult. But you are helped out by kind of his stealth blanket, his which was so hilarious how he just
Super
holds it
funny.
up and then he disappears. So great. Um, and or you can choose to fight, and I wanted all that sweet exp and to level him up, so I chose to fight everyone I could because I knew I'd be using him later on, so that was how I did it. um,
That's
but
sweet,
let's
sweet
see here.
exp.
That sweet exp. Overall though, he is more silent, reserved, calm in his demeanor. This chapter was really fun. It was one of probably the highlights. The nice thing about Live Alive, as we mentioned in our review of Live Alive, go back and check that out,
Mm-hmm.
is that each chapter is so different, but each chapter is so interesting on its own. So it's hard to really say your favorites, but I would put this one up there in my favorites. I did really enjoy it. I won't ruin or spoil it, but kind of at the end, it can be rather hopeful and a pretty sweet ending there, potentially, depending on which way you end that. But visually, Oboromaru has purple hair, like a brown robe, a red scarf, so some kind of contrasting colors there, a cowl that covers most of his face, and a golden headband. He also is rocking the katanas, and then I've seen some visuals of him with a dagger as well.
Mm-hmm.
Abilities that he uses, he was able to use a lot of physical and elemental attacks in Live Alive, but a lot of them were speed centric, as you might expect. Apparently, in the Super Famicom version, if you had him as your main, your running speed was even doubled. So your speed was increased if he was kind of the party leader.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's kind of neat. And then let's see, a few of the other abilities he had was Shadow Slash, which was a speed-based hit. You had Poison Mist. You had Phantom Butterflies, which is also a poison type attack. And then you had Shuriken Barrage. I think I used Shuriken Barrage the most, if I'm remembering.
I think I did
It
too.
was, you'd get like a dozen hits and you could hit them from across the map, and it was great. So he was just a great character. I'm literally picturing the beautiful, purples and dark hues of his chapter right now. He was very memorable time with Oborumaru. And he was
Cool.
part of my party in the later chapters.
Oh, he was. I think he was on my second playthrough for sure. If maybe he was the first, I don't know, but I used him for
You've
sure.
just played it so many times.
I played it 2 whole times. 2 whole times.
Okay,
Yeah.
who is your number 3, Deej?
My number 3 is Eric from Dragon Quest XI, which I think you've played, right?
No,
No, no.
I
Oh,
haven't.
I
I
thought you
really want to
did.
play it. I know.
Oh, it's
I
really
know.
fun. That's another
I
one that.
know, and it's. I don't know that it's relatively modern as far as things go. At least it still holds up as a modern game, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
an option to play it as a 16-bit
Oh
game.
yeah,
Yeah,
in the
which is cute.
definitive version. Yeah, is
Yeah,
that just on Switch or is that on
it's
any
on
any
it's on
way?
other platforms now
Okay,
too.
okay.
Yeah. Uh
Well,
yeah,
cool.
it is Eric from Dragon Quest XI. Also, spoiler, a thief. Yeah. He becomes the. I think he's your first companion to the Luminary, who's the hero character. I think it's been a while since I've played it. He has a lovely little side story dealing with his sister that thankfully ends with him rescuing her. He is basically the face of your party. At one point, he secures a boat for you. He acts as bait. He gets back stolen weapons. Very thiefy, very roguey. Eric is basically a really speedy glass cannon. He has unfortunately pretty low defense, but he's really fast and he can hit really hard while having pretty decent HP. It's unfortunate that he has low defense, but if he didn't have low defense, he would be like a killer character, like he's got to have some fault to him.
Sure.
Visually, he looks like a Dragon Ball Z character, and I think the artists for Dragon Quest also are the artists for Dragon Ball Z.
Hmm.
I think. Let
I
me
can buy
know.
that from what I've seen.
Yeah, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, listeners. Eric has spiky blue hair, a cute little single gold hoop earring on each ear, and he wears a purple bead necklace around his neck. His clothes are pretty simple. He wears a hooded dark green tunic with lacing that exposes his chest. How sexy. A red
Hmm.
sash tied around his waist, blue pants, fingerless gloves because he's such a rogue, leather shoes with orange socks that are held up with string. He carries a scabbard with a dagger on his sash. So he can use a dagger, he can wield knives, swords, or a boomerang. And I think the boomerangs are pretty cool. They're not the best weapon to use in any instance in any game, but if I ever get a chance to use boomerangs, I do. When in our D&D campaigns before, I've used boomerangs much to the chagrin of our dungeon master, but I just think they're kind of fun to use
Wait, why does the dungeon master care?
because he just thinks they're stupid weapons to use.
Yeah, what's their hit dice? Like a D6 or
I
something,
think it's like a D4.
or their damage dice? Is
Yeah,
it
I
D?
would.
Oh, it's a
I,
D4.
I'm pretty sure it's a D. I don't know off the top of my head, but like I would combine using boomerangs and a whip, which means which means I did nothing. Which means I was basically Indiana Jones, but like a worse
That
version.
that's kind of the problem sometimes with D&D is that you'd pick a weapon because it has a worse. This is an aside. I apologize for
Eh,
anybody that doesn't understand what we're talking about. But you'd pick a weapon based on the damage die and not based on how cool they are and the aesthetic and what you want to play with.
I
So I
know.
commend you for doing what fits your character,
Thank you.
Indiana.
Thank you so much. Back to Eric from Dragon Quest XI. His abilities depend on the weapon you have equipped, and that's with every character in the game, is that each can have different builds. Some of his abilities can, of course, poison or put the enemy to sleep. He also has special attacks that do extra damage to an enemy that has been poisoned or put to sleep. So in 2 rounds, you can decimate a group of enemies with
Oh,
just
nice.
Eric alone. He has a special slashing ability that when you're farming for metal slimes, he's the one. It's called Metal Slash, I think. So when you're trying to get a lot of experience points, you bring Eric into the party for sure. He can dual wield a dagger and a sword, and if leveled up enough, you can also negate the penalty for dual wielding. 'Cause they let you you use your dominant hand and your non-dominant hand, but at later points in which you have a you're penalized for your non-dominant hand.
Oh.
But at some point when you're leveled up enough, you can negate that penalty. And of
Hmm.
course, he can steal as well because he's a thief. He is roguey.
Because he's got those fingerless gloves.
He does, and he's
Uh,
he's just such a cheerful character. Like he's the face for sure. In Dragon Quest, your hero is the silent protagonist, so him being the first character you get who speaks, he's kind of like almost the secondary hero in a way.
you need somebody with some charisma
Yeah, and he's
and
got
the
it.
ability to speak.
Yeah, that helps too.
Well, very good, very good. So we will move on to our number two
Number
characters.
two, who
Number
is your number
two.
two,
My number two
Samuel?
is Yunaka from Fire Emblem Engage. So overall, also basically literally a thief. When you first meet her, she's been stealing the Ring of the Dawn Maiden. So that's their first interaction with her. She's also a trained assassin. She's upbeat on the outside, but also with the assassin history, she has these dark themes that come up in some of her comments at times. She's very high speed, evasion crit, as you might expect. Visually, she's also got bright red hair. And then she wears this black, almost like catsuit bodysuit with a cape. So that's kind of a cool visual there too. She's rocking for weapons the twin knives and has a lot of poison abilities too. So for her abilities, it's all the hits here. Train to kill ability gives her additional plus 15 to critical. Covert unit. So she's technically a covert unit, which is really useful for her, especially if you're trying to use her as an evasion tank, which is largely what I did too, and it's kind of what a lot of people do with Yunaka. So when you are in uh, certain terrain, so one that has played Fire Emblem games will know that if you're in certain terrain, if it's a forest tile or something like that, you can get terrain bonuses, including avoid increases to your avoid. If you are a covert unit like Yunaka, you will double that terrain bonus. So if you're being attacked and you're hiding in that forest, you are just going to be able to evade and dodge everything. She's also very super speedy, which could mean you double attack against the enemy, giving you additional chances to crit. And then, I paired this. If you recall from my Fire Emblem Engage review, I commonly use the Alacrity ability, and I would try to equip that, which let me, if I doubled somebody's speed, then I could attack back to back rather than having them attack between my attacks, and I would be able to hopefully knock them out, which was great. So yeah, totally used her as that evasion tank. Along those same lines, I leveled her up class wise to the Wolf Knight, which I thought was an awesome class for Engage, kind of a slightly different class. You're riding a big old wolf, and it complemented the thief and rogue aspects because it has high ranks in knives, so you can equip the stronger knives. You have high speed growth, and then also you have this hobble ability, which is kind of cool. If you hit somebody with a knife, then it's kind of like, I don't know, slashing the Achilles almost, but it
Hmm.
slows them down. They have -2 to movement, and so they won't be able to get away from you. So that was kind of a cool one. So she was probably my favorite character in Engage. If I think there was some sort of Mary mechanic, at the end or whatever with Elaine, and so that's who I believe he married there at the end, or at least gave kind of the most important ring to, whatever that mechanism was. So
Mm-hmm.
she was a fave for me. Oh,
I
and for others too. I was reading there was this Fire Emblem poll, so I'm not alone. She was voted the top character from Engage and the number 3 girl from Fire Emblem games in this poll. So I am not alone.
You're not alone. I do love how all of your favorite lady rogues have red hair. It's such a theme for you.
It's a theme for me. My wife is not exactly redhead, but there's some red tones.
But she's not exactly not either.
She's not exactly not. Um,
So that's
I'll,
fine.
I'll buy her some hair dye for the next event.
If you
Some red hair
could,
dye.
I want to see her in a blood red wig, please. That's the only way I'll accept to see her next time.
Um,
So
who is your number 2, DJ?
My number two is Jean from Lunar Eternal Blue. So before folks come at me, she has the highest speed in the entire party, which is, I think, reason enough to consider her a thief. But also, Jean is a dancer, but she's a dancer with a shady past. You
Ooh.
meet her in the forest dancing with a dance troupe or like a carnival troupe. When a
Hmm.
bunch of her friends in the troupe are captured, she kind of reluctantly joins your party. And then when you get to the boss of that particular dungeon, she starts doing these deadly karate moves. Karate. And you're like, what's going on? And she's like, I don't want to talk about it. I have a shady past. By the second half of the game, she has overcome her deadly past and has transformed into a ninja. So she makes this full transformation from dancer character into ninja. She's also incredibly strong willed. I think she's a super joyful character to have in your party. She has some really fun banter with the other women in the party as well. She's just really great, and you have no, you have to take her. You take everybody in Lunar. You don't have a choice who your party members are, so you got to like her anyway. Visually, she has green hair, and in the first part of the game, wears a dress that kind of reminds me of like a flamenco dancer with blue and red trimming along a white dress and white heels. And she carries these like fluffy fans, like two like fans that you would wave yourself with. When she makes her transformation, she wears a gi, which is a pair of loose pants and a looser fitting jacket with a belt. Think the gear you see when you see someone wear in judo or another type of martial arts. So it's also, I think it's a cool juxtaposition that she goes from a super feminine, kind of scantily clad in a way. It's tasteful, but she is, she's wearing a dress with a slit up the middle, showing her midriff. And then when she makes this transformation, she is covered head to toe. So I think that's pretty cool. Her weapons at first that she uses are her fans, which can, you upgrade the fans at every weapons store. They're not just like fuzzy fans, they're like Kitana's fans for Mortal Kombat. She throws them, she fights with them. Um, and then when she makes her transformation, she fights with her hands, and you put basically like knuckles or claws on her hands at that point. Her abilities as a dancer, she has the ability to charm or poison or put enemies to sleep. So again, like these are thief rogue abilities for sure. As a ninja, she does the same, but that she also does an insane amount of damage. She has one move where she creates a doppelganger of herself for 2 to 3 rounds, and that they do additional attacks as well. So we're seeing this again, this trend of the thief class who can poison, confuse, put to sleep. So that's why I think that Jean is a really fun character. Like, and I don't want to spoil anybody who hasn't played this game before. And I guess I kind of gave it away that she changes classes in the middle of it, but I don't tell you why she does. She has such an engaging story in a game where every party member has an incredibly engaging story. But hers might be my favorite, even over the main character, who also is super interesting for a protagonist. He's not a silent protagonist as well. I'm really trying to sell you on the Lunar games, Sam.
I hear you. Is this the one you played recently, or is this not the one you played recently?
Oh, this is the one that I'm just kind of like casually playing through the Sega CD version, just because I
Yeah,
only
yeah.
played the Sega CD version once before in my life.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, they sound good. They sound good. I'm begrudgingly giving you credit there because I have so many games to play.
I
But
know.
that's a
Well,
good thing.
for
I have to keep reminding
2025,
myself that is such a good thing.
what a privilege it is. For
It,
2025, we're going to put the Lunar games on the schedule.
there you go. Okay. Okay. Yeah, once you put them on the schedule, I'm kind of required.
You are, yeah. By law, by
Do I
turn-based
get to help
SE's
make the
law.
schedule next time?
Sure, if you want to, go for it. I'll send you the schedule now. See if you want to help edit it right now. We'll see how much activity gets done on that.
It was a joint venture. It was a joint venture on the schedule decisions.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
Hey
but
Sam,
let's
who who are your honorable mentions? Because we got to do
my
some honorable
honorable
mentions.
mentions. That is a great question for thievery and roguery. Um, Dusty from Mother 3, which we just played, literally a thief.
Oh, yeah.
Seth, the main protagonist from Bravely Default 2. So he can equip any sort of class and isn't necessarily a thief, but I'll make a case for him also. I
Okay.
built him as speed based. There
Yeah.
is a thief class that you can equip to him. There's a bard class that is kind of speed based that I equipped to him in Dragoon. So he can have two. And I think I had him as thief and Dragoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was high evasion, high speed. Just a real quick call out to Seth from Bravely Default 2, because I almost put him on my list here.
Yeah.
Um, he could buff everybody and make everybody's evasion better, and then also I could do this cool soul jump ability where you all jump off the screen so you can evade an entire attack, and then you come back and just wreak havoc with a big physical hit, which
That's
is kind of
cool.
cool. Yeah. Let's see who else. Therion from Octopath Traveler 1 is a great thief. And then any of the Phantom Thieves, Persona 5, I'll give a shout out there as well, even though maybe I had my issues with Persona 5, but also I had a lot of things that I dug about it. So I'll give them a shout out too.
Yeah, that's a nice shout out. You know, Therion was also he was definitely up for consideration in my top 5.
Nice.
And
Okay.
I
Very good.
I see that you mentioned him as honorable mention, so I'll go ahead and say honorable mention for him as well.
Okay. Okay. Well,
You
who are
know,
your other ones?
yeah, my others are the thief class from Final Fantasy 1. You know, gotta give it up to one of the original thief classes, right? I also think Leliana from Dragon Age Origins, Locke from Final Fantasy VI, insert joke about him being a treasure hunter and not a rogue, and also Lita from Arafel, which is this indie game, and she's your main character. So again, another game where your main character is the thief rogue class. That was pretty cool. I'm also going to include Shadow from Final Fantasy VI, who was the ninja class, and Dorothea from Fire Emblem Three Houses when she takes on the dancer class, because she was always my dancer.
Oh, okay.
So those are some strong honorable mentions, and I feel
Very
confident
good.
with all of them. And if you don't like that, that's totally okay, but I like them.
Tell us in the mentions.
Yeah. All right, Sam. Who is your number one?
Well, here we are. We are all the way to number one. So number one for me is Throne Anguis, I think is how you say it, from Octopath Traveler 2. So I'm not embarrassed to say that my top one for both of our first countdowns has been the character from Octopath Traveler 2. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
gonna keep repping that game. I love that game. So Throne is a thief, an assassin. She's a member of the Black Snakes, a group of thieves and assassins led by Mother and Father, two characters deemed Mother and Father. She's calm, she's composed, she's dedicated, she's thoughtful. So some other kind of interesting quirks about her: she hates the smell of blood, and she, even though she's an assassin, and she doesn't want to resort to violence unless she really has to. She has kind of a Robin Hood complex, stealing from the rich overall, and giving to mostly herself, because she doesn't have a whole lot of funds. But yeah, so the Robin Hood complex there, and she's willing to. She wants to get out of this. She feels trapped kind of in this Black Snakes. She's kind of literally trapped in this Black Snakes group, and she wants to get out, and she would die for her freedom. So that's kind of what the story is. I thought it was a really super compelling story where she's a member of this group and she's stuck in this group, and she has to figure out the interweaving web of who controls it and how she can get herself out. The last chapter I felt took a turn I wasn't expecting. Gets a little bit strange, and I don't want to ruin that. I don't want to ruin the don't want to spoil it. But I did think one really cool line at the end with a character that you're fighting kind of to the death there at the end is they ask you what's something that can never be stolen, asking that of the thief. And Throne answers, the dawn, which I take to mean, you can't take away her optimism, looking towards what could be, what tomorrow could bring, because that's what she wants. She wants to get out of this group, to free herself, to allow her to be what she wants to be, do what she wants to be. So you can't take the dawn from her. And I thought that was cool. So let's see. But then also she notes, later on well, no spoilers. Just play the game. It's great. Let's see. Visuals. She's got a dark purple dress with just this very gratuitous slit up the side. And that slit reveals her garter, which can hold multiple or can hold daggers. She also has a black choker around her neck with a pendant and a few locks. So that's part of the storyline, is that this choker is put on her by the black snakes. And if she tries to, it's booby trapped, if she tries to take it off, apparently, then she can have a poison again, injected into her. And so she has to kind of show that she's a member of the Black Snakes and she's beholden to this with this choker. And so that's part of the quest, is to get this off of her. I saw some, I don't think this was in the game, but I saw some fan lore and other things that were talking about how she has a black snake tattoo even on her left arm, but it's not something that they show on the sprite or in the artwork, I don't think. And then she has kind of a short, dark brown haircut too. She wields daggers, swords, and can utilize dark magic. Abilities vary on brand. She has the steal ability. She can debuff the enemy with different abilities called Shackle Foe and Armor Corrosive, which I think are cool names. She has Aber's Reckoning, which is her divine skill, and it's a dagger attack on all the enemies. But the higher your speed, the higher the damage. And this can be devastating. So I saw multiple folks who utilized Throne. I utilized her in some of my, you have to at the end if you play some of the super bosses, but I didn't use her as my main damage dealer. But I saw many people that would utilize her as a primary damage dealer. If you can rack up the speed high enough, this dagger attack on all enemies can just wipe enemy groups. So that's pretty awesome. That, most of the time, as we've been talking about, they can be high crit based, high whatever else, but I think it's awesome, and this is probably more of a testament to Octopath 2, that you can build a speed character to be a damage force if you want to. She had a disguise ability, so you can take on the abilities of other party members. Veil of Darkness was a cool ability that does dark damage to the enemies and then gives you all one charge of a dodge. So you'll get 100% physical attack dodge success. And then her latent ability, so kind of like the limit break almost for this game, is that it was called Leave No Trace, and you can act twice on a single turn. This was mandatory to have for in-game strategies, because at times some of these in-game super bosses could wipe you so fast that having that extra action at the end of a turn to do something else, to set something else up, was mandatory. You had to do it. So Throne was awesome. The storyline was great. Her little quips and one-liners were great. Visually, I thought she was stunning. Just across the board. And I'm probably pumping it up because it's Octopath 2, but my number one character is Throne.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strong case. She was a fun character when I was playing the game. I think that's a perfect number one. I Had you not pointed it out, I wouldn't have realized that for our top five mages, your number one was also from Octopath 2. So your top five mage and your top five rogue, your number one,
Uh-huh.
both
Yep.
from Octopath 2. Yeah, I did the same thing. And I also didn't realize it. My number one rogue is Zevran from Dragon Age Origins. Overall, he's a rogue. You know, in Dragon Age Origins, you can pick your primary character can either be a warrior, a mage, or a rogue. And then of the party members that you get, they all come predetermined as a base class of warrior, mage, or rogue. Zevran is a potential party member that you can get. He's an elven and Tevan rogue and quite an accomplished assassin. He's confident and snarky and sexy, all wrapped up into a beautiful looking elf man. I mean, he really is. He comes from kind of a broken life. He was raised in a brothel. His mom died basically right after he was born. So it's quite a feat that we get such a charming and charismatic party member from a pretty horrible upbringing. He is a master of seduction, and he can easily be your hero's romantic companion, no matter the gender. I think Zevran is officially either pan or bisexual, not just player sexual. So it's actually like canon that he dates and does who he wants. Not to foreshadow the next episode too much, but Zevran was my first experience I had as a gamer where I could romance another guy. So Zevran was the entire reason, well, not the entire reason, but one of the entire reasons why I immediately played the game again.
And why he's number one.
So I could romance him a second time.
Oh,
Visually, he's cute. He's a tan elf, long blonde hair, very fit, very svelte, if you will. Little on the short side because again, these elves are not like the super duper tall, like 7, 8 foot elves in Dungeons and Dragons. These are just kind of average human size elves, or sometimes a little shorter. The weapons he uses can be daggers, short swords, or a bow and arrow. Though he's not great with a bow and arrow, so I wouldn't recommend building him that way. But it does depend on the build. You can have him dual wield daggers or a combo of a short sword and a dagger, depending. In Dragon Age, your rogue character can specialize into 2 of 4 subclasses: assassin, duelist, ranger, or bard. Something that we didn't actually mention, that bards are often just a subclass of a rogue.
similar, yeah.
Yeah, very similar. I would usually have him class into an assassin for all the stealthy backstabbing. There's an ability where you turn into a shadow and you can sneak and make the first attack in battle. And as long as you don't attack, the battle doesn't start yet. So
Oh,
you can sneak. I think if you steal, you lose your shadow cloakiness, but you can basically get Zevran into a really great position and then start the battle with a backstab attack, which
whoa.
sometimes
Okay.
might kill some of the like lower class enemies right away. Like they'll be dead before the battle officially starts.
That's very D&D rogue sneak
It's
attack.
very D&D rogue sneak attack. I also have him play as a bard, so we can give the entire party stat bonuses. That's kind of one of the main bonuses of being a bard in Dragon Age, is just by the fact that you have a bard in your party, your entire party benefits from a stat bonus, which is pretty cool. Additionally, he steals, he can craft poison and attack with poison. He can also disable traps, and in Dragon Age Origins, when you disable traps, you also get experience points just for disabling traps,
Hmm.
which is pretty cool. I usually equip him with 2 cool looking daggers, or sometimes a dagger and a really special thiefy short sword. Yeah, play Dragon Age Origins, y'all. It's a game that I don't understand why BioWare has not re-released it yet at this point. Everyone is like clamoring for them to re-release it. Just freaking do it, guys. Just re-release it. Although also Dragon Age 4, the trailer just dropped a couple days ago and it looked interesting.
Okay.
It looked kind of like Fortnite a little bit. The animation was not awesome.
Aw.
Yeah, but I'm gonna play the game probably still. But I would rather just play Dragon Age Origins on a PS5.
Again, I have it downloaded unless it's off Game Pass on my Game Pass because you were raving about it. And
Oh
so
yeah,
I've got it downloaded,
because
but
you
then
have
I didn't play
Xbox,
it yet.
right?
I have Xbox.
Oh man,
I think it's still on there.
it's
I don't
a
think it's left Game Pass.
it's a
I
heckin'
remember
good
you just
game.
being like, I'm so jealous you get to play this, and then I didn't play it yet. So that's on me.
It's real good. Even Max has played it 4 or 5 times and beaten it.
You can't play it with other people co-op online game. No. Okay.
Nah, too bad
That's
though.
too bad.
It's so
But
much
that's what we're
fun.
gonna maybe do with Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, we might do that. Should we get a Twitch? Everybody, let us know at turnbasedbesties.com.
Well, that's awesome. You keep telling me on these games. If I had all the time in the world, when we buy that, maybe we just buy a cabin in the woods.
Yeah, and we go
We
to
just
it
go there
twice a
every
year.
weekend and
Oh,
play
oh, every weekend. That's what I meant.
every
Yeah,
weekend. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
yeah,
just
yeah.
have to
I
have
mean,
infinite miles,
Sam,
sky
if
miles.
we had the money to buy a cabin in the woods, we could probably have the money to fly to a cabin in the woods every weekend.
That's a good point. That's a good
Yeah,
point. We just
but
have to get to that first step.
we don't have that money, so
But we don't. We don't.
so
Well,
still a fever dream.
yeah. Well, real quick aside that I will say too, I wanted to do a little medical moment on reflexes, and I don't have time to do an exact one, but I will give a shout out to reflexes, a shout out medical moment to reflexes. So I think they would be fitting
Yeah.
for this because you talk about evasion, speed, you talk about somebody with high reflexes. Now that's not exactly what most reflexes are when we talk about that. Somebody that can dodge something really quickly, it's not necessarily an actual physiologic reflex like when you hit a tendon or something like that. So it's a little different. But I will say too, we have the 7-week-old baby K, and she's got all the fun bebe reflexes.
Baby.
So the rooting reflex, because she's got to find the milk. So you touch on the cheek and then she looks over. Touch on the other side, she'll look over there. She just got to look all around. And then, or you put your finger out and she'll just grasp it, the palmar grasp. So there's plenty of little sweet baby reflexes, which we get to see nowadays. And so I'm very, very lucky to get to see that. So
So are you telling me you're raising a baby rogue then?
she's baby. Yeah, that's right. I'm teaching her how to dodge things really quickly.
Excellent.
However, there
Good.
is that kind of the Moro one where you kind of like drop them really suddenly and then they spread their arms out. So that's kind of like that.
You drop your babies. I think we need to talk
Well,
off camera how you shouldn't drop your
yeah,
baby.
I just got canceled. No, you you startle them in a way, and then they go
Oh,
which
that
is,
sounds
and they
fun.
spread their arms out to the side. I have to describe it in words because we don't have this on video yet.
Video.
Video, but yeah. So I'll be training her. That'll be our first TikToks. Will be baby K training training to evade attacks.
Baby K rogue training. You should raise all three of your kids to be different classes.
There you go. What? Yeah. What would that's now? That'll be a whole episode. Me talking about the class builds of my children. This is getting odd.
Good. Perfect.
Let's put this out into the ether of the world. That's
Oh
great.
no.
Beautiful. Anyway, so let's go into kind of what we're playing now outside of the rogues and the thieves. What games are we playing right now?
Yeah, Sam, what are you playing right now, man?
I am still pretty deep into Unicorn Overlord. Travis and I are hanging out still, but that will come to an end rather soon. I'm probably 3/4 of the way through it, so that's good. I'm
Nice.
digging it, which is great. RPG wise I guess not all turn based, but there's so many other things I want to play, and a few things that I've bought recently. Also being kind of as we've mentioned, the more Switch Nintendo fanboy of the two, the ones that I want to play at some point would be the DLC for Xenoblade 3. I loved that game. Future Redeemed. Still haven't played it. Need to play it. As well as Super Mario RPG. I bought it on sale. Have to play it. And then Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. So another Nintendo turn-based RPG, which has high praise, which was just redone. So those are ones that are all on my list to play.
Nintendo boy, that's what you
Nintendo
are.
boy.
Yeah. Well, I basically finished Lufia 2. I watched a playthrough on the last little bit of it just because I was like, oh, it's fun, but I think I was ready to move on to different things.
Fair.
I totally understand why it's a cult classic. Super fun. I am, as I mentioned earlier, playing the Sega CD version of Lunar Eternal Blue on my Steam Deck. I'm casually playing that right now when I don't have access to the PS5 when my husband is playing the new Baldur's Gate game. When he's not playing that, I just started playing the Caligula Effect 2 and it's strangely really fun.
It looks it.
It is strangely fun. It's some people call it. I think I texted you this. Call it like the anti-persona, and I don't want to spoil or go into it, but it is the anti-persona for sure. If you're looking for a game that's not going to abuse your time, but you still want it to be modern looking and playing with high schoolers, Caligula Effect 2. I hear Caligula Effect 1 also, but I didn't play the first one, so I don't know. And I don't know about you, Sam, but I'm excited to play Fire Emblem Blazing Blades soon in July when we review that.
Absolutely. I am too. And that's on Switch Online now. Is that correct?
Switch Online, our shared family account that we have.
We are on a family plan. We are on the family plan.
We're the family. Did I pay you for that yet? I probably need to.
It's okay. I'm just keeping tabs.
It's fine. I'll Venmo you right after this. It's okay.
No, I'm just gonna hold it over you forever.
No. Well, if you want to hold something over us, you can hold our social media account.
Nice.
Thanks.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. You can find us on Instagram at Turn-Based Besties. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Overcast, and definitely some places we do not know about yet. Just Google us and you will find like a Russian account. I'm not even joking. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're being broadcast there too. Go to our socials, y'all. Let us know. Do you agree with our list of favorite rogues and thieves? Do you have a favorite one that we left out? Let us know by cloaking yourself in a shroud of mist and backstabbing us with your dual-wielding daggers, or, less violently, by emailing us at turnbasedbesties@gmail.com.
There you go.
I'm very excited to come back at the end of June to talk about our queer representation in RPGs episode.
Woo!
Woo, woo, woo! Which we kind of alluded to a little bit in this episode.
We did.
Really big thanks to everyone who is following us on social media or sharing our episodes with other folks. We really appreciate it. Let's see if we can break into those triple digits, y'all, on our Instagram. We are not asking for a lot, but we're asking for 100 followers. We can do it. Samuel and I love to go on new adventures with each new episode here at Turn-Based Besties.
That's right, we do. So, as we say, when everything in the world points right, maybe go left and see what you find. I'm Sam.
And I'm DJ, and this has been another fun episode of Turn-Based Besties. Bye!
Bye!